Welcome back to A Hill with a View. My name is Moshe Hill. It is great to have you back. Thank you for subscribing and watching, and please make sure to share with a friend. We need more and more people like you to share the message so we can grow this channel and hopefully share some useful information. Now, this week I want to talk about my governor, Kathy Hochul. You are terrible. You're the worst governor in America. You're the worst. Yeah, I mean, she's up for re-election this year. And what she's trying to do is do what they did in Minnesota. She's looking at Tim Walz. She's seeing him get all these headlines and all these plaudits, possibly a 2028 presidential contender, even though he had to drop out of his own re-election bid a month ago because of scandals and fraud in Minnesota. Now he is a resistance leader, and he's fomenting unrest, and he is creating chaos in his state, and Kathy Hochul thinks that is great, and she loves it. So what she wants to do is have a proposal that she dubs the Local Cops Local Crimes Act, and it aims to ban New York local police department from participating in the federal 287G program, which allows cooperation with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, to enforce immigration law. So basically, she is trying to turn New York into a sanctuary state. Not good enough that New York City is a sanctuary city, but she's trying to turn New York State into a sanctuary state by passing a law that says that local officials, local law enforcement, cannot cooperate with ICE. It would ban cooperation with ICE.
Governor Kathy Hochul is pushing new legislation aimed at limiting the role of local police in federal immigration enforcement. The proposal, called Local Cops Local Crimes Act, would ban state and local law enforcement from entering agreements that allow officers to work with ICE on civil immigration cases. The governor says the goal is to keep police focused on local crime.
We will always cooperate with federal government to bring violent criminals to justice. Full stop. That's not a change in policy. However, it does not mean that New York State will stand for flagrant abuse of power under the guise of public safety.
If passed, the measure would also restrict the use of local jails for immigration detention and require judicial warrants for enforcement in sensitive locations.
So notice the language there. Notice how it just, it sounds so normal. It sounds so nice. You know, we don't want people just going around rounding people up. We don't want the federal government to tell a local police force that you have to come with us to the local Home Depot and round people up. That's what they make it sound like. That's not what ICE does. And that's not what they request from local law enforcement. What they want from local law enforcement that says, when you pick somebody up for a criminal who somebody did a crime, check if they are legal or illegal. First of all, that's a big ask already, because a lot of times, especially in blue cities, New York City, you think they're asking about a criminal's legal status when they pick them up? They don't. They're not asking. All right. If you look at a lot of the arrest records, they put down the wrong races and the wrong, a lot of wrong information. They juke the crime stats all the time. Then you wonder, why are all these crime stats? Oh, it makes it seem like illegals cause no crimes and everyone's homegrown. You know, all the crimes are homegrown. It's like they're juking the stats. Okay, 100%. They do not record who is illegal or illegal because they're a sanctuary city. If they record it, then it has to go into the federal database with the names and the numbers and whatever. They don't want to do that. So they're doing that exact same thing. So what the ICE has been saying to local precincts or county precincts or sheriff departments all around the country, and a lot of states negotiate with them, and a lot of states work with them. A lot of municipalities work with them. What they say is, if you pick up somebody who committed a crime, call us, and we'll pick them up, and we'll deport them. We'll get them out of here, or we'll check them against a database that we have. You don't have access to our federal database. We'll check them and say, oh, you picked him up for a DUI. But guess what? He has murder charges back in where he came from, in Guatemala or wherever. in Venezuela, in Haiti, wherever he came from. He has murder charges back there. He has violent crime back there. We want to get him out of here. They want him. They want to prosecute him back at where he came from. Like, federal agencies have access to that database. Local agencies don't have access to that. So what Hochul is saying over here is, oh, we're just not going to help them with this moment of tyranny, unspeakable acts of violence, weaponizing local police against communities. They're not trying to do that. They're trying to keep our streets safe from criminal illegal aliens. They're not targeting moms and kids. I know CNN likes to put a 5-year-old who was abandoned by his parents front and center on as if that's the child's the mascot of who ICE is trying to target. They're not. That's what's going on. So Hochul makes it seem like it's all nice and this is what we're doing. Then they say, oh, we have to require judicial warrants. A judicial warrant means basically you're going to stop all enforcement altogether, because you're basically saying you need to have a warrant for every single thing that you do, as opposed to like a general deportation order, which is a warrant that you're allowed to do. The nuances between one warrant and another warrant goes over the head of many people who aren't lawyers, myself included. I'm not a lawyer. But when it's explained to me like that, it's like this is just a workaround that they're trying to get rid of all enforcement. They're trying to get rid of all enforcement. So why is Hochul doing this? Hochul is doing this because it's an election year. Her approval rating's in the low 40s, hangs around over there all the time. Yes, when people say, who are you going to vote for, a few months back when Elise Stefanik was still on the ballot, Hochul was still winning in that generic ballot. But as election year, this is a whole election year. There's going to be a lot of campaigning going on this entire year. Hochul did not win by much 4 years ago. She won by like 5 or 7 points against Lee Zeldin. And that was a tough race for her. She's going into a tough, difficult re-election year in a deep blue state. It's as deep blue as it gets. But I think even people in New York, I'm hoping that people in New York are sick of all this, because I certainly am. I know Nassau County certainly is, where I live. Most of the state is certainly sick of it. You know, there are areas of New York City loves it. Areas of Westchester are okay with it. Rochester, Buffalo. Those are the areas that govern the entire state. And a lot of people are really sick of this. So to defeat Kathy Hochul, you need to go into those areas. New York City is not going to go above 30% for any Republican. And then you need Westchester to get close to 50. You need Rochester, you need Buffalo to get close to 50. And I'm not saying over 50, I'm saying like mid 40s, low to mid 40s at the very least. So a recent Marist poll, speaking about how bad she is, a recent Marist poll showed her favorability at a tepid 43% favorable to 45% unfavorable. Not terrible by today's standards, to be honest. Today's standards are, you don't really have too many politicians who get much more than that. Even the most popular politicians that are above 50% are 55, 56. This comes after earlier surveys pegged her as unfavorable ratings at 45%, when as high as that. So she wants to become a new resistance leader. She needs to appeal to her left-wing flank. The Democrat socialists are gunning for her. I'm sure I would not be surprised if they put up a candidate against her, even if it's a spoiler candidate, just to push her further to the left. And she's going far to the left as much as she can. She embraced Zoran Mamdani in New York City. And as opposed to her own predecessor, the one who made her lieutenant governor, the one who gave her entire career, Andrew Cuomo, literally plucked her out of obscurity, gave her career, and she did not endorse him. She endorsed Zoran Mamdani. And, she didn't have to do that, but she did. She has a $252 billion state budget. Lots of wasteful green investments, unchecked spending. I'm sure there's plenty of fraud in New York State. If anyone looked into it, I'm sure it would make Minnesota look like nothing. I mean, how much spending we have in New York State, it's ridiculous. She appointed the Lieutenant Governor, Brian Benjamin, who had to resign amidst corruption scandals. So she has poor judgment. She flip-flops on literally every single issue. She tries to appease the Mamdani base but not alienate the upstate voters. You know what I compare her to? She's a lot like Eric Adams. Eric Adams tried to please everyone all the time. And so the image of the Eric Adams administration and his era as mayor in New York City, as short as it was him wearing a Yankees and Mets baseball cap. This is the image of Eric Adams. He's trying to please everyone all the time, and he just can't do it. He when you do that, you just alienate everybody. So, and I think that's what Kathy Hochul is going to be doing. Now, what got Eric Adams out of office was he was being challenged by other Democrats. And if Kathy Hochul doesn't seem to have any loud primary challengers, no one who's really like making a lot of noise and getting a lot of steam, and with the primary in June, they would already be doing that right now. So even if they do have a candidate against her, she'll win the primary, and that's not that big of a deal. And then she goes into the general. She's going up against Bruce Blakeman. Bruce Blakeman's a very popular county executive in Nassau County. My county executive, love him. And he is a really great campaigner. He has a really great track record in Nassau County. And he has all the issues. All the issues are on the side of the Republicans this year. So Kathy Hochul needs to find an issue that makes people passionate to go and vote, not for her, but against Trump. So what they're going to try to do is they're going to try to tie Bruce Blakeman and Trump, which makes sense because Bruce Blakeman has endorsed Trump and he was very pro-Trump. And this has just been they've been able to do this. They've been able to play this game every single time. They've been able to play it with over and over again. So Hochul has a bevy of domestic failures where she's trying to emulate California by banning, gas cars, banning gas stoves, bringing in a lot of green initiatives, the congestion pricing debacle that she did it, then she took it away, then she did it and took it away, and now it's in. All these different domestic failures that she has in New York, she needs a boogeyman. She really does. She wants to be a defender against tyranny of President Trump. It's just opportunistic. It's opportunistic, and it risks public safety. So what she's trying to do is she's trying to stoke up people. And Letitia James, our Attorney General, who is just a really terrible, really a bad person. She's not just a bad Attorney General. She's really a terrible person. I've heard her speak in person several times. You go to enough political events in New York, you're just going to hear everybody. And I've never heard somebody sound so phony. She is the most inauthentic politician I may have ever heard. It's a theater thing. Like, she's a theater kid, I guess. Like, she's just trying to sound so authentic, but she's really very phony. She recently announced that they're going to have legal observers, basically their own militia of people with cell phones harassing ICE officers, really bothering them, really going after them. And this is something that got people killed in Minnesota. You had these people who take the law into their own hand. They claim to be legal observers, but they really just obstruct justice. It's obstruction of justice. They try and stop the serving of warrants, and they try to stop people being arrested or detained or taken into custody. And then they go too far, and 2 people were already killed over this. And so Letitia James would love to see that in New York. Kathy Hochul would love to see people die in New York. They would love it. It would get national headlines. Then they can go and say how much they have to make good trouble, and they have to resist and fight back, but peacefully, but fight back, but peacefully. I mean, this is just all designed to create such real terror in New York, and that's really what's going to happen. Thankfully, it's still winter right now, and there's so much snow on the ground. I don't think anyone's going to do anything for at least another month. But I would not be surprised if when springtime comes around, probably around April or May, right around the time they had the encampments a few years ago in New York, where college campuses basically shut down for a month over, or more than a month, over the war in Gaza. I think they're going to do that again. They're going to, in springtime, April, May. There's going to be graduations that are going to be canceled again. And people are just going to go into the streets, and they're going to start protesting, and they're going to start attacking ICE agents. And this is really not necessary. They don't need to do this. It was the entire point of the 287G program that they are going up against right now is deputized local officers to identify and detain the worst of the worst. Murderers, gang members, rapists, pedophiles, terrorists. That's what they're trying to stop. That's what they're trying to stop. And it's going one step further and saying that you can't use... So, like, if ICE does pick somebody up like this and they need to hold him somewhere overnight, let's say they pick him up at, 11 o'clock at night or 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever it is, and they need somewhere to hold him overnight. No, you can't use our local jail. You have to drive back to a federal facility. Who knows how far that is? New York's a big state. Could be anywhere. So it just makes it so difficult. DHS says that they have 1,000 partnerships nationwide. They reimburse local agencies for salaries, benefits. It's a cost-effective way to deport threats. States that cooperate with ICE really have no widespread unrest. Texas, Florida, Georgia, Virginia, they lead in these 287G expansions. And except for Virginia is trying to reverse all that now that Abigail Spanberger is governor there. And it doesn't... Crime rates don't spike due to enforcement, that they're using local officers, so crime rates are going to go up because officers are busy. That's not true at all. So every single thing that they claim is going to happen does not happen. What really bothers me about all this, though, which really drives me crazy, is that the timing of all this. So Hochul's doing this now, 2026. There was no ICE enforcement in 2025. Of course there was. She's doing this now because it's an election year. The Democrats never complained about any of this when Obama was using ICE to deport people. Obama was known as the deporter in chief. Yes, most of that was from the turnaways on the southern border. They never went. Obama was the children in cages guy. All those images from the Trump's first term about children in cages, they all came from 2015. They didn't care. In 2016, CNN went like on an ICE ride along with ICE and like showed them doing stuff. Nobody cared. No national outrage, nothing. And now that Trump's in office and he's getting the job done, now you have the little ICE out pins at the Grammys or whatever the latest cause that the celebrities are doing. And it'll be something else another time. It is absolutely insane that that Hochul wants to do all this and still maintain some kind of credibility as a leader, as a governor. She doesn't care about the people of New York. She really doesn't. She cares about the leftists. She cares about the left-wing causes. because she thinks that that'll get her reelected. And this is basically her major issue going into the 2026 election, is that she is beholden to the left, to the far radical left. Now, they were smart enough to drop certain issues. They dropped the trans stuff. They know that that's a loser. Obviously, they don't talk about abortion anymore because that's a non-issue at this point. It's literally in the New York State Constitution, and nothing's going to change there. So they don't talk about that stuff. But you better believe that they're going to be talking about ICE. They're going to be talking about, they're not going to talk about fiscal responsibility. Of course not. They're not going to talk about fraud. Of course not. They're going to talk about Trump. That's all they're going to talk about. They're going to say, oh, how much Trump is terrible. That's going to be the entire campaign. And New Yorkers have to decide for themselves if that's good enough for you. Is it good enough for you to have a governor who doesn't care about you, doesn't stand for anything, just stands against things, is on the wrong side of the financial issues, is on the wrong side of social issues, is on the wrong side of the economic issues, is on the wrong side of every single possible issue that could help New York, affordability, like everything. Everything she does hurts New Yorkers. And it's way past time. We got to be done with just being a one-party state. It does not help us. It is genuinely awful to be a one-party state. So I'm going to be working hard this year to make sure that Bruce Blakeman is elected governor. It is going to be a very, very tough year, but we have a chance. We do. We have a chance to pull this out, make New York better, because otherwise people are going to keep leaving. We are due to lose, but in 2030, I think we're predicted to lose 2 to 4 congressional seats because so many people leave New York. I mean, and those seats are going to Florida and they're going to Texas. People are fleeing the state, fleeing it. So it's honestly about time to change things up. So we have an opportunity. I hope New York takes it. All right. That's going to be it for me. My name is Moshe Hill. This has been A Hill with a View. Please make sure to like and subscribe and share with a friend. And see you next time.